Today, we are talking to an entrepreneur who is turning over £40 million across 3 different businesses at 3 different scales. His name is Sam Malins, and he took his knowledge from the waste management sector and ran with it. In this episode, Sam will tell us his story. We will learn how he built his businesses and find out what gave him the grip to make millions. I'm James Martin, and this is Entrepreneur Conversations. Sam, thank you for coming out. It's hard to get hold of you because you're not here much. I bump into you, say, once every 2 months.
Yeah.
But you're not here. Where are you living now?
I live in Dubai. Lived there for the last 3 years, yeah.
So are you one of these people that ran off and didn't pay the tax man?
I don't know if I can say that on here.
No,
No, I didn't. No. Quite a lot of things were happening in my life, and I decided that to better me and start my future again, sort of hitting middle age, was the best decision for me and my family.
Tell me what you think middle age is, because I need to know at 62. Come on, how old are you?
40. 41.
You're ancient.
Yeah. So
I am in middle age, remember. I am in middle age. So, I mean, we said earlier, we were having a chat, from selling sweets in the playground. So what was all that about? Did you not like school?
I wasn't a fan of school. No, I struggled at school, and I think I went to Felsted for about a year, and
they need results back then, wouldn't they? They would need results.
They need results, and I remember even back then I was sitting there and I just didn't understand what they were talking about. Right. I just didn't understand, and I think I can't remember exactly, but I told my mum and dad, and I got pulled out and put into Dunmo. Right. Just normal school, and that's where I sat, and I think part of it is about the environment, and if you're around people that understand stuff and you're the person that doesn't, it puts you into a more difficult position.
I think it's interesting, Sam, because I think at school, I mean, my dyslexia aside, and this is what you said earlier, they tell you once, everybody nods like nodding dogs. I think there's a lot of teaching goes on, but whether it's sticky learning that gets stuck in your head is a completely different thing. And we need to be motivated, don't we, to learn and stuff like that. That's very different to what you do now, because you're an avid learner and you send me books to read and I send you books to read.
Yeah.
We are constantly, as entrepreneurs, polishing our brain all the time.
Yeah, but I think that's what interests us, doesn't it? So I think that you, through your younger years, you're understanding what actually interests you. Yeah. I found that I loved business. I love the different of what every day brings you. So I learn ultimately to make it easier for me. Yeah. My first business coach scheme was with Action Coach, and I'll never forget Brad Sugars, who runs Action Coach. He just said, he was on stage, he said, "When you outlearn me, you'll out-earn me." Right. And I thought, and that just stuck with me, and I thought, I'm just going to carry on learning.
Those little phrases do go in deep sometimes.
They do, really deep, yeah.
I always remember, my early books were with Brian Tracy, and I've said this, the swallow the frog thing, do the worst thing first. I'm very good at that. That stuck with me. Do that worst phone call, do that worst task first. Yeah. The rest of the day is easier. Right. If nobody knows who Sam is, who is Sam Malins? Right. It's a great question. You've got plenty of time. But with your companies, who are you today? Tell me about that.
So most people will know me as the owner of Dunmo Skips, Dunmo Group. We've got the biggest waste management company in Essex. We are the yellow. The bright yellow skips, bright orange trucks that are all over the roads in Essex. So I got involved in that just over 20 years ago. Took it over from my father. It was a small business, turned over 900 grand with 5 trucks, and I got the bit between my teeth sort of towards 2010 when I met my business partner, and we just grew the business to where it is now. So that's that's where you'd know me from a local perspective.
And staying with that local business, you and your partner avidly bought up smaller companies, didn't you, to scale? And you scaled pretty quick, didn't you?
Yeah, so we were in Little Dunmo, that's where we originated from, and then we moved in 2011 we approached Carterway. Carterway were actually the biggest skip a construction skip company in Essex, but they'd had a fire, and we could tell that the owners had kind of lost interest. So we approached them. They kind of threw us the keys and went, just take it.
I bet Little Dunmo were pleased that you moved.
Little Dunmo were very pleased because we had grown the business to the point that there was trucks blocking the village.
Was it? Yeah.
So Little Dunmo was very pleased. We then moved over to Chelmsford, and that gave us the basis of a fantastic site that we have now.
Cartaway, and I do have a history in rubbish. I had a company called Ground Control way back in my I think I was 1920. And that was mini skips.
Yeah.
And Cartaway back then,
yeah,
Cartaway was actually a franchise. You could buy the franchises of Cartaway, unless the names have changed. But that was a thing there. And I went and got a franchise for selling the equipment, and the equipment was Telehoist. Telehoist did that gear.
Yeah.
And I was in a room waiting to buy one unit, and I could hear an Irishman in the room next door in his Portakabin saying, "No, I'm going to become the dealer, this, that, and the other." So when I went in, I said at 19, "Yeah, I want to become the dealer for the south of Essex." And they bloody gave it to me. And they gave me better rates on the equipment and all the rest of it. And we built that business up, and then we sold that to Sharp Skips.
Yeah.
And you know Sharp, they're another local company. But that was a long time ago. So
that's interesting.
I feel your pain in rubbish. Rubbish is a great business, but it's very, very hard to get the men out, to get organised.
Permits. It's extremely hard.
The whole thing is very fiddly, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very hard. And the operational side of the business is challenging.
Yeah. How they've all now got to have all these separations. I mean, how do you cope with that?
I think one of the I've had quite a bit of experience over the last few weeks with it. One of the biggest challenges now is the legislation around the business. So there's legislation is changing all the time when it comes to recycling and what people can put in skips. For example, you've got a new legislation which is it's called POPs, and it's the chairs and the settees that we sit on. As soon as you put it in a skip, it then becomes pretty much hazardous. So it's the pollutants that are left in the fabrics make it now hazardous. So we now have to change all our systems and processes in the yard to make sure that we adhere to those processes. And having conversations with other companies in the industry, not many people are adhering to it. Right. But when you're a professional big company like us, then we have to make sure that we seem to be doing, and we do adhere to the registration.
And that's costing you more money on there, where others that are probably not paying to the rules.
It's costing us more money, and it's more systems and processes for the staff to follow. And then that's ultimately the challenge, is getting the team to follow the systems and processes that we put in place. That's what it's a big team, all different pay grades, and it's just that's the hardest part of the waste management industry.
And don't you think that in the end, it's going to be just end up with some big players, because the smaller players won't be able to afford to do that?
100%. I think that's where we're going now. Yeah. I was having conversations this morning about exactly that. Yeah. So
I think there's going to be regional players, aren't there, in the end, but that will actually be able to cope with that legislation. They do things to us here with on the industrial estate, where they advise that every fuse board should be metal. A metal cased fuse board. Well, now that's legislation.
Yeah,
we were doing it 4 years ago because we wanted to be ahead of the curve on it. EPC rules for buildings. Everything is challenging us as business people to have the thing running professionally, where others are sliding underneath the radar, and that's challenging on price, isn't it? When you're trying to do price structure for it.
Exactly.
If that's your localized business. So now go on, so our audience can understand how have you gone into this other sphere that is. I mean, when I looked at it, I tried to look it up the other night with my dyslexic brain. So I was looking at all the pictures. It looks like fire suppression inside equipment and machineries and stuff like that. That's automated. It's not a man picking up a fire extinguisher and running into the problem. It's automated systems. So
it's automated. So we talked a little bit earlier off podcast about kind of what made me tick, what got me out of bed. Yeah. And in the early days, I remember I was running the skip business, and it was a family business, but it was me running it. And my dad, we had a bit of a row one day, and my dad said to me, he said, you try starting a business. Yeah, because he'd got his roofing business that he'd started, and he come from nothing. And then I'd come in, and we had a bit of a row, and he said, you try starting a business. So that just stayed in my brain. And I was like, right, I need to start a business. So on the fire side of the business in I think 2008, 9, I was down the pub a lot, and a friend of mine had this idea, kept talking about it. And one day I went, right, we're doing it. And it was basically a fire extinguisher with a tube that come off it, and the tube held the extinguishant. So whatever you had in the cylinder, if you burst the tube, then it would come out of the extinguisher through the point in where the fire burst the tube. So it was very simple, made sense, and I said, let's do it. So we sat around a table. I'd just got a business. I'd just met my business partner on the skip side, and I said, let's sit around the table, the three of us, and let's start this business. So that's what we did. And cut a long story short, we started to focus that business on the waste management sector. Because we're in waste, we knew a lot of people in the industry, so we thought, why go to another sector? Let's just leverage our relationships. And we started to protect waste and recycling equipment in the waste industry.
From everything, from trucks as well.
So we can do trucks. So you've got like petrol tankers we can do. So you've got certain legislation. Trucks are not high risk, although we do have truck fires. They're not classed as high risk. There are some legislation around fuel tankers that will require it in the coming years, but ultimately, predominantly mobile plant. That's what we protect.
And could you see, diggers and excavators and stuff like that? And could you see, Sam? Could you see what the future looked like? Did you have your eye on that, or was it just a great idea? Because the future is now that the legislation is going to be coming that you're going to have one of these to lower your premiums on insurance, to lower your health and safety risks. That is going to come, isn't it? Or it's already coming, isn't it? Yeah.
So you're right. That we saw that. We were talking to insurance companies. We were obviously convincing insurance companies this is what they needed. It was going that way. We had a competitor that had spent quite a few years pushing that. So we just jumped on the back of that and then did the same thing as them. We came into the market, we found a supplier, and we came into the market as a very cost-effective option compared to what was in the market at that point in time. So we came in and we classed ourselves as the Ford of fire suppression. Everyone could afford our system, whereas our competitor was a couple of levels up. We did the same thing, but we were cheaper. So that was Fireward. Fireward is now a £5 or £6 million company. Again, started it from a startup, sat in a room and thought of the name. You brought it up earlier, fire ward.
No, ward, like the warden, like you'd have a ward. I mean, we'd have fire wardens back in the army or wherever it was in the blitz and stuff. You'd have a fire warden,
and they look after the fact that whether there's a fire, and our systems do the same automatically. So we run that business for 2 or 3 years, and we weren't particularly pleased with our supplier. They weren't coming to the party with looking into the future and looking at what we needed in our sector. They had their own business that had been going on for a long time. They weren't particularly interested. So we actually found a small family company, which was a competitor to our supplier. We bought them in 2016, and
where were they, Sam? Whereabouts?
They're based in Scotland. Family company, 3 people, relocated it down to Essex with none of them. That was a learning curve.
You took all the knowledge and the processes and stuff.
Yeah, no, I didn't take any of that. We literally bought the business, paid £1 million for it. What we did was, because they were a small family company, that they saw that we were being supplied by this other big company. And we asked them to come down and see us, and they thought they were going to come down and see us and get all our work. And they sat in front of us and we said, well, we want to buy you. And the owner just went, give me £1 million and you can have us. And, when someone says something, you think, okay, it's not going to be a penny less than that. That's his number. So Ed and I went, right, we need to get hold of £1 million. Got hold of that. And then we went to... That was the start of the biggest learning curve of our life. You think you're good at something, and sometimes you think you're good at something you haven't done before.
Listen, listeners and viewers, what Sam just said there is so cool, because we were told we needed to have £1 million, so we went and got £1 million. It just seems like it's off the cuff, but as entrepreneurs, it's kind of the way we do things. We find a building and then work out how to buy it. In my case, but and getting that money easy, hard, punitive.
It was interesting.
That means I can't really tell you.
I can give you a
under
bit
the
of,
sofa.
I can give you I can give you a high level overview. So we're in the waste industry, so we know some interesting people. The waste industry is obviously,
but it's whatever it takes.
It's whatever. Yeah. So we use some of our contacts to get hold of the money. I think we were quite lucky we didn't take the money from the first person that we were going to take the money. Sam. Yeah,
I've been in these meetings. They'd be owning you now.
I would literally be probably in a cage in the corner of his. So I could just picture that as well. But that because things go wrong, and when we bought it, we were what was this 2016? So it was 10 years ago. I was 30. Thought I knew more than I did. We were a bit overconfident, and when we bought the business, we found out that we brought some great bits, but we brought a basket case. Basically, it had no systems and processes. It had no designs. It had no drawings, and one of the biggest. We brought it for the valve. Our valve is reactons and only reactons, and it come from the original design that we brought. It's had loads of iterations now, but that didn't work properly. It worked perfectly if you had one cylinder, but our systems, we bolted.
You piggybacked them on.
We piggybacked them on. So as soon as we put 2 in, it kind of worked, but not very well. And at 3, it didn't work. So for £1 million,
just to get this right,
for
£1 million, you got a valve that didn't really work.
Exactly that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So that was
that's a good thing of, did I make the right decision, Sam, or I make the decision right?
I make the decision right.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it commonly is sometimes like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
You make these decisions and you go, that's it, all the bridges are burnt behind me, so now we need to make it actually happen.
Someone said, people say, do you regret it? Again, it comes back down to that I don't regret it, because if I hadn't have done that, then we wouldn't be where we are now. Now, was it a good deal?
Big learning curve as well. No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
no. But then where would you have got forward? You need to get forward somehow.
Yeah.
And if the other party weren't coming towards and warming towards you and going to help you, I think it's a great thing that you go, that's okay, I'll do it myself. And it kind of is a steely thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it does actually make everybody bristle up a bit and go, oh, blimey, what are we doing now? No, we'll just do it ourselves. I like that.
For me, it's really interesting, because what I've learned from that is over the last, so we completed in 2016. So we're sort of 8 or 9 years forward from that. And genuinely, my vision has, apart from COVID, I didn't see COVID coming like most of us, but my vision has pretty much completely played out in front of me.
Okay.
In 2016, we were going to be turning over 15-20 million pound by this time. We were going to have offices in Dubai. We were going to have a manufacturing facility in Phoenix, in Arizona. We were going to have these sort of people. And it's literally played out in front of me. It's really interesting.
So what part of it happens in Phoenix? Explain that, because that's one thing is the valve. So go back on the story. So that's a national company you were working in, yeah?
Yeah. So just like we talked about, Dunmo is a local Essex-based company. Firewood is a UK national-based company. Right. 25, 30 people, vans based all around the UK, and we predominantly look after the waste management industry for their mobile plant and machinery.
On implementation of the equipment.
Exactly, implementation.
Right. Yeah.
And then we've got the manufacturing facility. So we are an OEM, an original manufacturer. We design right the way through to distribute. Firewood is just a separate entity. If we wanted to, we could sell Firewood tomorrow to yourself, and you could pick it up and run it and buy off of Reacton. So Reacton UK headquartered, and then we've got Middle East.
I like Reacton, by the way.
You like it?
Oh, I like that. It kind of says what it does on the tin for what that product does.
It's a bit like the Firewood side, and when we brought it was called Firetech Reacton, and we were using a marketing agency, and Reacton was not really sure about that name, and we did a load of research, and the only company and the only people in the world that use the name Reacton is us.
Right.
So you go online, and so it's unique. So, and that's what we wanted. It's a niche business. We wanted it. We wanted a niche, and we wanted a new unique name. So.
And how did you find them all the way over there?
What's that?
The Phoenix. Where does the Phoenix?
We started it.
Oh, right.
Started it. So
why over there?
Why Phoenix? Because our biggest competitor's headquarters is about 5 minutes around the corner.
Okay.
So we took a couple of their staff and then we opened an office around the corner. So how the Phoenix office works is Phoenix looks after the US market, North and South, and Canada. And we've got, you should come see it sometime, actually. It's interesting. In the Whittam facility, we've got a full machine shop. So we've got 5 CNC machines that work all day, every day, and we produce all the parts for the system. Now, the difference in Phoenix is it's an assembly process. Right. So we ship the parts out and then they assemble there. So they don't manufacture anything. They assemble for a just-in-time delivery.
For their areas.
For their markets, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you've got good middle management and stuff. Are you there every day? You're not there?
Very, very good. Very good board. I've got a managing director, finance director, global certification director, compliance director, and between them, they run the business daily. So
can we go back a bit, Sam? Because when you started out and you said you sat in that pub and you got your friend that was going on about it, and you got your business partner that you're in the waste business. You've obviously gone into a shareholding between you on this. Is that how that's worked?
So our friend that come in originally, we brought him out when we brought Reacton. So he was involved in the firewood business.
Right.
But when we were finding the £1 million to put Reacton, to buy Reacton, that relationship come to an end. And there was just, I suppose, there was a misalignment in business understanding. And it was just causing too much pressure between the three of us. So Ed and I are on the same page when it comes to business. You know, we understand the simplicity of business, but we know it's very difficult. But we also put our customers first, then our staff, and we delegate, wherever we can. They're our values. Yeah. But one of my biggest values is having fun. I need to have fun at business. Yeah. And the tension was just causing, not that. So when Reacton started, and
then what happens with you and Ed? How's that partnership? Is it a 50-50? How does it work?
It was a 50-50 up until this year. And then Ed wanted to step back from the front face business owner. He doesn't have the dreams and aspirations that I have to take over the world. Yeah. So we done a deal, and now Ed's a minority shareholder, and he's happy there, and I'm leading the business.
The whole thing with the shareholding, it can get very nasty if it's not sorted out earlier that someone has domination. You need to have a decision maker that actually can make those decisions. That I've got partners at 50-50 with a load of property, stalemate. Nothing's moving because of it. Yeah. There's not a lot you can do about it. So I think for listeners and viewers watching us and listening to us today, you need to think about that, especially when you're hatching a thing out in the pub. And it's great. While it's all worth £2.50, that's great. When it's worth 16 million quid, then all the arguments and that's where it can all start getting a bit itsy.
Yeah. It is a tough one, because when we were growing the business, we were working just as hard as each other, and we were growing it, and probably the risk was more mine, because some of it originated from the family business to start with. And I think I just moved forward, and at 50-50, that was just my value set. Was I couldn't sit down and say, well, I'm having 75%, you're having 20%. I couldn't do that. Yeah. But, from what we went forward with and what we ended up with, Ed did that himself and said, you crack on. Yeah. I'm a bit happier sitting back. I'm actually really happy doing what I'm doing. I don't need to take over the world like you do.
Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to take a moment to let you know about Baddow Park Mastermind. I have created a mastermind for high-level entrepreneurs. There's only 16 spaces and we've only got a few left. If you often find you're the biggest fish in the pond at other masterminds, click the link in the pod description, because this might be just for you. Now, back to the pod. Can you go back then and do the short version? I want to know all of the businesses from sweets to where we are today. Let's do that list.
So I was actually really looking forward to this, because whenever I see you, I just don't know what you're going to say next.
Come on, give it
so
to
don't
us.
Let me down.
No, come on.
So what, you want a little bit of the backstory?
Yeah, come on. So with sweets are going, how's the sweet sales going? All right.
I quit sweet sales. My mum had a company called Essex Larders, and she sold pies. Okay. So her and her mum had a pie company. My dad had a roofing company from when I was little, and he owned the skip company, and his cousin ran it. So whenever mum did Essex show, Suffolk show, I would go there. I don't know how old I was, probably, not even 10, I don't think. And I would go to the cash and carry in Chelmsford, and I would buy sweets, and I would buy packs and packs of drinks. And while she was selling pies, I would go around with a basket, and I would be selling Diet Cokes and all of that sort of thing. Cool. So that was around sort of 10, 11. Always. And then in my early school days, I sold phones. So a friend of my dad's had a link into 1-to-1, and he could get me phones. I was buying them for 40 quid and selling them for 80 quid or something. And then I started a mobile disco up when I was 14, and I had that for 10 years. So while all my mates were out.
Was that more like a girlfriend magnet than it was a business? Or?
No, it wasn't. I wasn't very good at that side of things in my early life. So I just worked. I didn't really have any other. I've always loved cars, but other than that, I've always just worked. So I was always Friday night, Saturday night, I was out doing discos. Yeah. Before I could drive, my mum and dad would drop me literally before I got my trailer. But before the trailer, they would drop me up in the car full of disco stuff, and I'd set it all up, and then they'd come back later on. And then eventually I bought a trailer, so they just needed to tow it there, leave me, and then come and pick it up later. So yeah, that was that. Left school at 15. Probably discovered I had a bit of a drinking problem earlier on. So I left school at 15. I got a motorbike. My birthday's August 1st, so I was the youngest in the year.
Yeah, you would be, yeah.
So I then tried sixth form-ish for a couple of months, but I actually just rode my motorbike in, went to the pub across the road, got smashed all day, and then drove home. Oh. So I realised after 6 weeks that was really not going to go very well. So I then quit that and started working at Tyre Mart in Dunmow, cleaning cars. Right. So that was my first proper job, cleaning cars.
I think my first proper job was putting tyres on. I think it's the only job I've ever had was putting tyres on.
So you've been a skip man. Yeah, you've been skip man. My first job was Tyre Mart.
But tyres is what I did. Bloody black tyres on commercial vehicles. It was hard work.
That's hard work.
And popping rings and beating. It was horrible. I hated it. And it was so horrible. That's why I didn't want to do that anymore. So we've got to discos and so. Where was the itch? I'll tell you where I'm driving the conversation, Sam. Where, for listeners and viewers, where's that itch that makes you drive from that person that is putting their foot in an entrepreneurial camp, earning a few quid, swapping time for money, to actually becoming where you are today? What's that piece of grit?
So in the early days, if I look back at from when I clicked into gear, I suppose, we kind of do stuff, don't we, and then we click into gear and go right, off we go properly. And as I left school, I went for a couple of 3 jobs, messed around a bit, never found something that I wanted to do. Then I took over the skip side, but I hadn't really clicked into gear. I was just doing. I was getting into work, I was running it, I was helping the mechanic, I was doing this, doing that. And then I think 2006, 7, my mum actually said to me, I've just started using a business coach. Do you want to do a few hours? Okay. So a guy in Stortford still does it, Nick Ruddle, started working with him, and he started to teach me the basics of business. Okay. And I was like, oh, this is quite cool. I really like this. So what I kind of knew we were just bringing to the table, and I really started to understand the basics of business. Then I started to get a bit dreamy. Yeah. So I was kind of doing in the day to day, and then I pulled myself out and I was working on the business. And then I kind of remember this vividly, because if you look at it from my mum and dad's point of view, one minute I was just Sam doing stuff, and next minute I was Sam who wanted to be a multi-billionaire. Yeah. And my dad had to be like, calm down, son, a bit. Right. Can you just calm down a little bit? Like you're getting all up there a bit, dreamy, and you need to come back to earth. And honestly, I think I reflect a lot these days it's quite tiring, but I reflect a lot these days. And I look back and I think it was where I kept telling him what I wanted to do. He kept pushing me back down again. Yeah. And then I just had this thing in me that was, can you swear on this podcast?
Yeah, you can say what you like.
I just had this thing in it. And I just remember it was just like, fuck you. Mm-hmm. Not a bad fuck you, but it was like, no, I'm doing this. Yeah. And every time someone said, or it's particularly dad, but every time someone said, you're not going to do that, or you're not going to quite meet where you think you're going to get, I was like, I can feel it now, actually. I was like, I am. Yeah, and I will find a way, and I will go for anything. And that was where I found my drive. And that was, what was that?
I think, Sam, that is quite a common experience, because I think you've got friends and family and uncles and brother-in-laws, at the barbecue. Would you want to be a multi-millionaire in your dreams? Or not you probably can't, but others can. Those throwaway comments, and sometimes it's that they worry that if he ever did do it, it would make them look like they weren't working as hard as they could, or they weren't as good as they might be. And I think that friends and family suppression sometimes, and sometimes I think that environment that you're in can be quite damaging, or in your case, quite stimulating.
Exactly,
because I remember that teacher that just whacked me with the ruler and said, "You'll never become anything." And
yes, exactly the same.
And as I say that, I got that feeling, because it still lives within me. And her name was Mrs. Smith, and she was horrible. And it was the best thing she ever did to say that to me, because it made me really bristle inside and find inner energy and grit to, through all the, and we go through, I don't know why, but we go through crappy times and we just carry on forging ahead. There's sort of no giving up.
No, I think that's it. The persistence is unreal. And I find it even now, going through pretty tough time in one of the businesses, and the persistence you need to get up and go through this pain every day. I know why people don't do it.
Yeah.
So,
but I was doing this as one of the pods the other day. I was speaking and I was saying that, pick what you want, because it's horrible and hard being poor, and it's horrible and hard being a multi-millionaire and independently wealthy. Pick your hard.
Yeah.
Because you can be wherever you want to. This one, you'll have to keep asking everybody to help you, and can I do this? Can I do that? This one, you'll be in control and you'll be your own entity. Yeah. Pick your hard. They're both hard. Yeah.
I get nice cars with this one.
Yeah, well, that's it. Sam loves a nice car. Every time Sam comes to one of our dinners, we all look out the window. What's he driving today? But that you were telling me earlier as well. You were telling me earlier that there's a phase, and I think I went through this. And for people listening, there's a phase where, you've got to be in that car and to be seen locally, to be the success that you are, and prove everybody, a bit wrong, and you've done it. But you kind of go over that hill eventually, and then you become this person that, when I walk around here, sometimes I don't act like I'm the boss. I'll act as, as I'm the forklift driver or whatever. I try and sort of be in the background a bit more these days, because I don't have to prove to anybody who I am and what I've achieved. I've done it to myself. And I think in those days, I think it helps you that you think you've got to prove it, because it makes you work that bit harder to do it. But there's a point, and you were saying to me earlier that there's a point where you just plateau, and then you just become the person that you've become. Yeah.
I think you're 100% right. I mean, I've done that in the last 3 years. It was matched with a bit of depression, high anxiety. I quit drinking, and that was part of my journey, because I before I left. It's interesting you say that, because before I left for Dubai, I looked at it as if I was playing up to the world. Yeah, I had, I remember getting back home once and looking at my fleet of cars, going, "You're an idiot." Like, they're all on finance. They're all, your monthly payments are big. You can afford the monthly payments, but you're stressing a living shit out of yourself. Yeah. And you're looking at it, and I remember playing up. I was driving around with my favourite thing. I was driving around in a Bentley with Big Boss on the number plate. And if someone come towards me with Boss on the number plate, I'd think, "You're a fucking idiot." Yeah. I drove it because I thought it was just funny. Yeah. Like, everyone would be like, "Oh, you're a fucking idiot." Yeah. Well, I don't, like, a number plate can create that much hate,
pre-perception,
that much pre-perception, and I played up to that, the pre-perception, probably because of my upbringing, people would always have a preperception of me, and then they'd meet me and be like, actually, he's all right. Yeah. So, but I was playing up to the world, I think, and local. And then when I moved out to Dubai, it doesn't matter who you are in Dubai, there's always someone. Absolutely. There's always someone. So actually, I now, 3 years later, live a very, very quiet life out there in the corner of a nice estate, and no one knows who I am apart from the 3 neighbours around me who think there's a guy with a couple of nice cars. And that's it. You know, that's it. And like what you said, I've found me now. I'm happy. You know, I've spent a long time on my own in the last 2 months because I've been in the UK quite a bit, and I couldn't go back a few years. I couldn't even be on my own. I couldn't be seen on my own. Yeah. And now my mindset's totally changed to, I think
happy. The interesting thing what you said there about the drinking is when I stopped drinking really at COVID. That's when I stopped, and I was that pub monster. And I went through my cocaine stage, and I admitted that I was a whole year of that crap. And thank God that is all.
I haven't admitted that yet, so we'll wait for that one.
But where I was going with it, when we've been running, say, the dinner here every month for the last 5 years. When you look in that room, Sam, very few people, drink in there. Yeah, because that's a serious room, isn't it? These people have got serious businesses. I mean, like yours is a serious business, but we do business in the room, but we help one another. And when you talk about the mental health, and we talk about people's what is it like to be an entrepreneur, it's pretty shit. Yeah. Unless you've got a community of people that you can rely on and go to for assistance. Yeah. And I think that room has really helped a lot of people overcome some problems they've had. Definitely has helped me. Will Polston has worked with both of us, and he's helped to sort of steer to get in focus on what we're doing. Yeah, Will was a massive part of mine. Will is a great asset to my life and yours. I know he is. Even what you do with me when you flick another book to me, and I say, oh right, okay. And I'm a big fan of audiobooks, obviously, with my dyslexia, and I eat them up, and I will probably listen to them 4 or 5 times to really digest them. Yeah. And this has sort of gone full circle, everybody, to going back to, you can't just tell somebody something once. Sometimes it has to take time for that learning to go in. And that learning might be that you don't need to be that big show off. You can actually be your own person. Yeah. But the journey to get there, you probably need to go through that phase. And I think
that's right, because I've been through some tough years, and it's created that like backstop for me. So I'm the guy driving around in a Range Rover or Bentley with Big Boss on the plate. I hit a tough time. Things are not looking good. Yeah. As an entrepreneur, you can run a business, you can run your cash flow out, and you can go, how did that happen? Yeah. I'm not going to make this. And then you look back and you go, right, how am I going to make this? Why am I going to make this? And then the thought of me driving around in a Bentley with Big Boss on the number plate, and then and then Dunmo closes, or something, that can't. It cannot happen. So, but you're
almost putting your own feet to the fire by having the bloody car with a number plate on it, because you can't afford to fail. There's no way.
100%. So you're right. I've put my feet to the fire, and in all honesty, it's probably saved me a couple of times where I've gone, it's not happening. I'm gonna work night and day until I get this business back on track.
Do the two ends of the spectrum. What in business, to where you are now, what has been your highest day, your best day? What did that feel like, and what's the story behind that?
That's a good question.
Something that you achieved, something that you won, a contract or a result, or buying another company out. What was that sort of high day? While you think, I always say my highest day was like when we put in for to sell a piece of land for planning, and we didn't have planning on it, and they refused to look at the application because of some technical thing. And in that meantime, a Redrow Homes came in and were interested in the land without planning permission. And then the next month, Bellway came in. And when I had Bellway there, they were doing these gas tests, they do the soil gas tests. And I said, but we've already had a test done. Why don't you just use those ones? And the engineer that was doing the test, he said, no, I'll put them in. I said, well, just use those ones. He said, no. Bellway and Red Row Homes hate each other, like really hate each other. And I went, thank you very much. That's all you needed to tell me. And the rest is history. I consider that one of my best days. But that guy told me that. Because I just worked the two together. And in the end, that sold for so much money. And it didn't have any planning permission. But they hated each other. And that was all I needed to know as my sort of little business entrepreneur now. So went in there and I just ran them together. And that was it. And off we went.
We had an interesting win on when Dad sold the site at Little Dunmow.
Yeah.
He sold it, and it was a skip yard for a long time, and he sold it free of contamination. So that was a pretty blunt statement. So it pretty much couldn't have a piece of paper on it.
Yeah.
So Persimmon came in, they brought the site, they then done their study on it as to where the levels need to be, and then they did a test, and they said that there's some contamination on it. So this was probably one of the highlights, I think. Interesting you say that about the developers is, so what they did is they brought this case to us and tried to sue us for the amount of money we calculated it would cost them to lower the site to their needed levels. And in the background, we obviously know everyone in the waste industry because we're in the waste industry. Right. So we kept a track of everything they were doing in the background. And when they come to us and said, right, this is what we wanted to do, we said, right, okay, you need to give us evidence of all of this and all of this and all of this, knowing they couldn't do it. So they just disappeared in the end.
Right. Okay.
And that was 200 or 300 grand. So that was a win.
Yeah.
But I know it's probably I don't get that excited. As soon as I have a win, I just move on.
Yeah,
it's quite.
It's almost like it's a foregone conclusion sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah,
well, I'm going to buy them. You buy them, and it's not a hey. It's sort of.
I love the chase.
I knew I was going to do it.
Yeah, I knew I was going to do it. I love the chase. It's kind of an anticlimax when a deal gets over the line for me. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Right, next.
Yeah.
It really does do that.
Because they drag out so long. Yeah. And they ask all these hundreds of questions. And I always say this, and they get down to, say, the last 10 questions, and you look at them and you go, there are no answers to these last 10 questions. And in the end, you have to say, take a view on it, buy it, or don't lend me the money, whichever way you're doing it.
Yeah.
But you need to take a view because we're done. And these things, don't they, Sam? They think you can do a deal or raise some money in 6 months. Forget it. It's always a year plus, isn't it?
Yeah.
It always is that. It has long legs.
One of the things that still amazes me to this day is that how things line up. So say you've got a deal coming over the line and you need money by a certain period of time, something else in the world will line something up. And it can happen like within 48. It's just happened to me now. Within 48 hours, you need money, and then something else lands, or and that's. I put that down to hard work. You've got to keep the hard work and momentum up.
But I think that's the universe also, and your brain is already seeing you.
It's seeing it, but
doing it, having the money available, and doing it.
But it can land within hours, and you're like, if this just didn't land, I don't know how I couldn't have carried on. I would have either shut the gate or the deal wouldn't have happened, and it needed that to land within that 72-hour period. And if you look, nothing's happened in 6 months, and it all happens in 72 hours. Yeah. So that's something I find quite amazing. And we've run into really tight cash flow in the past. I think remember 2014, 15. And we were literally we looked forward again and we were like, we're not going to make it. And then £250,000 out of nowhere, I've never had £250,000 single job just land on a desk. Right. And they save you. So it's just about, it's believing in, someone said to me the other day, just believe in the process, trust the process. Because I've been a bit stressed.
I think trust the process is right. But I think it's about you having that map in your head. And, we talk about this woo-woo thing. Do you believe in manifestation, this, that, and the other? But I definitely believe in having a forward-thinking goal that is going to happen, and I go there like it's happened, and kind of things fall into line. You meet someone in the dinner, something happens, someone gives you a number of somebody that can do this. You couldn't borrow the money, they weren't around. No, actually, I've got a friend that's just lending some money. Whatever it might be, things do fall into place as entrepreneurs if we've got the vision and that. I think that grit and determination is one thing, but it's also that foresight to see what the future could be like going forward. You obviously have, when you say you mapped out what you're doing with the fire suppression, to the manufacturing, to that. I like what you said earlier, Sam, that UK-based company could be sold separately.
Yeah.
Because it's only being supplied by now the headline manufacturing company.
That's right.
And that's a global company supplying lots of companies like the UK company.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're putting them out as either concessions or how you do it. On the global stuff, how much bigger do you think that will get? Because it's obviously got a huge need and reach.
Yeah, so the way we design our system means that we are extremely competitive. So that the technology we use, the materials, the way we design it means we're extremely competitive. So we are pushing our product into the market. We're the market leader in the UAE in school buses. We work with a very good partner in the UK, which means that we supply a lot of the UK buses all through London. So and a lot of manufacturers globally. So we're winning big projects at the moment from a bus perspective. So it's actually, the business is quite interesting because we have different markets in different pockets of the world. So let's just take America. Our biggest market is CNC machines. So they're obviously big manufacturing in America. We protect a lot of the CNC machines that run 24/7. In the UAE, we're buses. In Uzbekistan and Kazakhstan, we're mobile plant. Through Europe, we're mobile plant. Australia, we're buses. We've just taken someone on in India.
But it feels, Sam, when you say it like that and you map it out in your head like that, it feels limitless.
It is.
I mean, there's production lines, there's plant and equipment, there's buses, there's anything with an engine where hot works are happening, and there's that repetitive threat that a pipe could burst or something could happen from a fuel line. Your system should be in there to lower the premium and to do the health and safety, meet up where that's going to meet. I mean, it feels like the whole place is available from all sectors, from manufacturing to transport to everything. I mean, it looks very good.
That's exactly it. We can pretty much protect, like you said, we can protect anything with an engine. Electrical control panel protection is a big part of ours. Like CNCs, we protect the Ain wheel in Dubai. It's one of the flagship projects that we protect. So there's loads of locomotives, trains. Got a big train project in Australia. So there's like you said, it is limitless. It's just finding the niches, finding the right customers that are then going to put the support for us into that market. That's a challenge in that business.
And the money to grow the business, how's that? Tough or easy?
Margins are good, so we can support the growth within our, unlike some of the other businesses, the margins are good, so we can support the growth within the cash that we generate. But we've also just had some recent investments, so then that will push us even further into the US. Is going to be an expensive market to grow, from visits from us to, we've just taken on a salesperson over there, so that will put the team up to 4 in the US. So it's people, really. You're taking people on.
And when you say investment, is that VC money?
That's a single private person.
Single private person.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And would you do the VC thing?
It's a big question mark, because I can't be managed. I'm a little bit unruly, and my values in business is to have fun. So I don't want to find myself in a position where I'd much rather be smaller.
Couldn't it?
I'd much rather be smaller. I live a good life now. We've got our targets of where we want to be. I don't think I need to go down that route.
I mean, it's a route I looked at with 3i years ago, back in the day with Ruskins, to scale it up. And when you looked at the contract, it was driven all towards them. They could own you within 18 months, and you could end up with some shares, but you wouldn't have a job. They would take you out.
Exactly. And you think of the hard work that you've put into that stage. And we set out a long time ago to build it was actually go back to Brad Sugar's. I was listening to a conference of his, little one up in Bishop's, up in Saffron Walden or something. And he said the goal is to find a niche business with the biggest reach possible.
Yeah.
So we found a very niche business on a global scale.
Yeah.
And that stuck in my head. That one sentence from him.
And
stuck in my
James
head.
Sinclair always says, then he riches in niches, and it's so true, isn't it? I mean, they are. Once you've got that audience and that need for them to have that, and it's quite clearly they have, because they want the product, they need the product, and they love the product because they've got to have it installed, especially when you're talking about kids' buses and stuff like that. You'd be sued if you didn't have the blooming thing in there.
Exactly. Yeah.
I invite you to have a look over my shoulder at my newsletter. If you want to hear about the things that grab my attention each week that could bring you value, sign up in the episode description. Now, back to the pod. Ollie, what else have we got to do on features? What do you want to do?
Yeah, so you asked me to make a jingle.
I did ask you to make a jingle in your bedroom at home. So what happened, Ollie? Come on, tell us all about it. Let's hear it.
So I don't want you to be too judgmental about this because I put a lot of effort into it. So this is our next...
This is very exciting, people. Here we go, Ollie. This is your first... Let's hear it.
It's Tombola time!
That was it. It wasn't very long.
It took me a week to make.
So
we just talked about
It's Tombola
anticlimax.
time.
Tombola time. So do we have a tombola?
No.
No, we do. We have this.
We've got one on the way.
We had the crap machine of hell that obviously someone didn't get the memo right, did they, on this? Where's the handle? You've not seen this, have you?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you're going to love this. This is our sector. Right, here we go. We're doing... There we go. We are today, question number 1, please. Great, isn't it?
What are the key steps to scaling a business?
I think the first thing's got to be what business it is, isn't it? It's got to be something that can scale.
It's interesting because when it comes to looking at scaling, obviously that I'm obsessed with scaling.
Yeah.
Right. So everything, I'm obsessed with it, but I'm also challenged with it. It's not because I'm the ADHD entrepreneur. I'm not the structured entrepreneur that has systems and processes to be able to scale. Yeah. So I'm like the messy scaler, but I need someone to come in behind me and put those systems and processes in. So, but what I think you've always got to look at I'm trying to find a word in my head, but I can't find it, is I'm going to use scalability. You've got to look at delegation is one thing. If you can't, that's probably the biggest. If you can't delegate, you can't scale.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, I agree
if you take the fundamentals, then I look at things like with employees. If they can't do the basics, they can't do the more complex tasks. So let's look at scaling. If you can't delegate, you can't scale. So you either need to learn to delegate, or you don't scale. You stay as a business owner.
And also to trust to delegate, isn't it?
It's part and
parcel. A lot of
people
will lock themselves up because they just can't see someone else doing it as good as them. No. And they're right. A lot of the time, it won't be as good as them, but it will be nearly as good as them. And in some cases, it might even be better than them. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So I've got a managing director that's better than me in so many departments, and then I compliment him on the other departments. But yeah, if you've got, I think that's the main thing. It is, and if you look at, say, the difference between me and Ed is I'm always looking forward. I'm always past the problem. Yeah. He's looking at the problem. Yeah. So, for example, I've appointed a new interim managing director today, and he's already looking at the problems. And I'm like, we've got to look past the problems. Yeah. There's no golden bullet as to who this person is. This is like head down,
isn't it? Like this.
Yes.
With the blinkers on at the issue.
Yes.
We're really, is that their job? Someone's got to have vision. Someone's got to have their head up and looking. Yeah. Well, yes, I don't realise that, but over there is where we can get to and just work out the difference.
We've got to get there. Yeah. So in my mind, I think the difference between me or the difference between an entrepreneur or me and some of the people I work with is we're getting there. Yeah. There's no question. No. Don't question me. We're going there. Yeah. How we get there, I'm not fully aware, but we are going there, and you're either on board or you're not.
I think, Sam, that's very true, and sometimes that's to do with good storytelling to your team. To actually do what we're talking about now is leadership, is having the leadership and that camaraderie, and them having the belief in you that you've done this many times before, and we are now going there.
Yeah.
I think, Ollie, the answer for me on that is you need to have something that can scale. You know, something that is able to get bigger, and has a digestible to solving a problem or a product, whatever it might be. But when you look at what you've done, the scalability has been by buying other companies up and having very big steps to get there. I mean, the manufacturing side, you kind of built yourself off from scratch.
Again, it's similar. You know, when we bought Cartaway, you know, we bought maybe a couple of £1 million worth of turnover, and then we quickly had to double it. Yeah. So we've done a lot of organic growth. When we bought Reacton turned over 400 grand when we brought it. This year we'll do, and when we brought it, Fired was doing just over $1 million. So between them, they're about 1.5 million. This year we'll do, I think, 16 million. So that's all organic. Right. So everything. Again, I can't think of it. It's economy of scale, but it's I'm just missing the word in my head. It might even be scalability, but there's a word that I'm missing.
I think the scalability is right. I think that's what you have to. But I think I think you've done it quite a hard way, that you have built those manufacturing companies and stuff from scratch. I think on the journey now, if you could buy up some more companies that are in that sector to really get the growth there, or buy some distribution companies and implementation companies in that sector and force your product through to different industries. Yeah. But, you know, they'd have to be, I don't know, engineers on food lines or something like that, or definitely circuit boards where they get. I mean, if circuit boards are always warm, aren't they? There's always problems in there, so that would be something. You know, buy a company that was into that.
Yeah, you can buy your end users, can't you? We could look at our suppliers. There's one I was trying to buy a company early on this year, but I just couldn't get the numbers stacked up. I'm gutted because I really wanted to bolt that business in, but I just couldn't get the numbers to stack up.
Because when we look at what our biggest costs are in the business year on year, we need to buy that company, don't we?
Yeah.
If we're spending that much money, over £1 million on paper cups, whatever it might be, we need to buy a paper cup company pretty quick.
Yeah.
You know, and that's kind of how you get to who you should be buying to scale.
100%. I mean, this was another manufacturer, and they had about 6 million of turnover, so very, very similar to us. So it would have bolted on nicely. It wasn't a supplier. It was another, not even a competitor. They worked in a different field. So I wanted to do that, and I was desperate to do that. We were into the process, but I just couldn't get the numbers to stack up. And I think it was a sign, because when I pulled out of that deal, things actually started getting tougher in one of the other businesses. So I've had to step into that and look after that. So I wouldn't have had the headspace to get that across the line.
Can you go back to that company, do you think, later?
Potentially. Yes. But
timing, mate, is everything sometimes.
I think time is everything. Yeah. And sometimes I'm quite impatient. So I get, you know, like when I said we're going over there, I will get like that. And that's how I've become successful. Yeah. But, you know, sometimes you do that, and then like I was buying that business regardless. No one was telling me otherwise. And then it got down the line and I started to look at a few things. It kind of fell out a bit, and then that kind of goes away. And I know it's that you lose that.
That's talking about bravery there as well, because when you get to those stages where, you know, hello, we're doing it, this, that, and the other, but the experience and the brave you, as opposed to the impetuous you, says, no, sorry, everybody, it's all off, because I've had a look at this and it's not actually what I thought it could be, and I think the timing might be wrong. Well, that's really brave.
I was gutted, mate.
It pisses a load of people off. It pisses yourself off.
I had to sit with the owner. I had to sit with the owner on Teams and tell him that I wasn't buying it, and it was and I was absolutely gutted, because I was hell bent we were doing it, just like as hell bent as I was to scale the business. Yeah.
Let's do another question. Yeah. So here we go. This is so exciting, Ollie, isn't it? Could we have the jingle again? Can we have the jingle again? Can you make that happen?
It's Tom Muller time.
It's great, isn't it? This is number 5, question 5.
Question 5. Is networking important for your business?
Oh, so I can tell you just quickly about another two things that I do in my life, which you may know about. I've got a plant hire company in Dubai that I've started, and we're doing drilling. And again, a startup, which
This wasn't like you had enough going on, by the way.
It wasn't like I had enough going on, and that has been a challenge times 10.
Right.
I got so far in, I employed a general manager and employed a machine driver to run that business, even though it was only very, very small. So, but my other interest over in Dubai is I'm the chairman for Bitter.
Okay.
So I run a networking event.
And explain to everybody what Bitter is.
So Bitter is originated from the British and Irish Trading Association, run by a guy called Paul Whitnell, and he started a networking group that basically joined Ireland and the UK together, Ireland and Britain. So I was heavily into networking. Again, the two networking events I went to were the dinner and Bitter. Bitter's like a construction focused networking. Yeah. So I got on very well with Paul over the years that I went to that networking, and we got talking and I started up Bitter in Dubai. So we've got 60 members. I've got an event on Friday. I fly back tomorrow. So I suppose the answer to the question is networking important to my business? Networking is extremely important for a number of reasons. I think for self-development, like we talked about earlier, you know, you've learned a lot from the dinner. I've learned a lot from the dinner. I've got one of my best friends now. I met at the first dinner. So I think that networking is great for being around like-minded people if you find the right networking event. It's great for business because, again, go back to the values. My values are having fun. Are having fun at business. So I'd much rather meet a few people for it used to be for a lot of beers. Yeah. Now it's for
a ginger
coffee
ale,
or
coffee,
it's not quite the same anymore, but yeah. So I think it's extremely important. Sometimes I do get a little bit frustrated with people that say I go to networking and I don't get much out of it. Yeah. You get out what you put in. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
I think from my side, Ollie, to answer your question, Ollie, I think that the networking is in my DNA as a person, as an entrepreneur. I network every day. I'm networking with the man cleaning our windows at the thing, because I'm saying to him, how are you doing, this, that and the other, and he's talking about, and I said, oh no, we're doing a wedding every week now, this, that and the other, and I'm selling him my product through to the window cleaner, through to being at the dinner and talking to finance people that have been able to raise money that I couldn't raise otherwise, and they've found me other ways to do it. I think the whole thing is a network, and you are constantly having those relationships, going in the room, how can I help you? And that how can I help you feeling, Sam, I've used that all my life. If I can help someone, I will do. And that reciprocation will come back.
Yeah, 100%.
Not this week, not in 3 years' time. It might come back. Someone puts a good word in, whatever. We have great phone books, don't we? We can make things happen with telephone calls. I did it yesterday with a client of mine. They needed to know something, and I got the managing director of that company on the phone. Just a small item that I wanted, a cost comparison. And he said, who are you doing it for? I said, well, it's a young client of mine who's growing his business. He said, right, give me his number. I will deal with it personally, and I'll make sure he gets it at cost. And that, that's very cool, isn't it? To have the energy to do that and the power to do that by just going in your phone book. Yeah. We're doing another one of these, Ollie. How many do you want to do?
We can do one more.
Will the jingle last that long?
We'll see.
We'll see. Can we have it again, please? It's just like BBC television now, isn't it? Look, light entertainment here at Baddow Park. And we are going for question 4.
Can you walk me through a major failure or setback and how it changed your approach moving forward?
A major failure?
Failure or setback?
I had a chain of florists. We had 3 florists. We didn't know anything about florists. I thought it was just a good thing to get into. I thought everybody needs to. But the one thing I missed is you need to be... what's it called, the florist sign, the interflora. If you weren't interflora, you didn't really have a business. No. And the interflora would only be given to certain sectors of the county or whatever. You got that status, And that lasted about 8 months, and we burnt a load of money, and that was a big failure. Failures. I don't really like the word failure, Sam.
I don't.
Yeah, I like
probably
mistakes.
I've had one that I can clearly, because again, we learn from them so quickly. And if they're in my current businesses, I learned and moved on, and they either weren't lucrative, we weren't very good at them, etc. But the number one business failure or business venture that I think didn't, and I'm thinking while I'm talking, well, there's another one, but I had a company called Dunmo Ground Design, and it was actually just, might as well be Dunmo Groundworks, but I'll come up with a funky name for it. And I was running the skips at the time. I think this was around about 2010, and a guy came in, got friendly with him, or it was a friend's husband, got friendly with him, and he concreted all of our yard. And I thought, a bit like your window cleaner. I was thinking, the window cleaner, you know, how are you going to get a business opportunity out of him? Well, he came in, and we said, look, you've been great at doing our yard. Let's start a groundworks business. Started a groundworks business, and found that all I did all day is quote. So we started the business. He had, I don't know, 25%. We had 75%. We paid him his day rate. He went out and done the work. I was pricing all day, every day, coming away from my main business, just pricing. And then he would then go and earn his normal day rate, going and doing the work. And then I was like, this is not working, because I'm not doing my main business. And then when there was a problem on site, he didn't necessarily have the backing of the company. So when there was a problem on site, it came back to me anyway. So that lasted about 18 months. I was like, no, I've got to can this. And I think that was the first company I thought that's enough. I've got to bin that.
I think it's hard to know what your new entities are going to be. I mean, as entrepreneurs, we are devils, because we get distracted with shiny concrete slabs or whatever it might be, or selling flowers, whatever it might be, and we think that we can just apply the same skill set in there and it will all be, happiness. But I think you just got to go there and do it and get the scars in your back. And when the opportunity comes up the next time, you're slightly different on your opinion to whether you're going to jump in 2 feet or not.
Slightly wiser.
Yeah, slightly wiser.
I do feel wiser, especially when
especially now you've been dyeing your hair. I love the way you've been doing all that lovely colours you've been putting in it now, Sam.
Yeah, a little bit of silver. Yeah.
What else do you want to do, Mr. Producer?
So we've got What Are We Reading, which we don't have a jingle for.
We don't have a jingle, but folks, it will be coming soon. Ollie's going to work in his bedroom night and day to get that jingle just ready. What are you reading? You love it, don't you? What are you reading, Sam? What are you reading at the minute? Or listening to? Or how do you do it? Do you listen, read?
I listen.
Yeah.
I listen. I've listened to a lot of books over the last 20 years. I actually flick between podcasts and books, depending on how busy I am and how much capacity I can take in at that.
Flights are very good for it, aren't they?
Flights are good. And I manage, because obviously I've got a lot going on. I have to really manage my stress levels, downtime, recharge time. Yeah. Obviously, you've got physical recharge, you've got mental recharge. I do operate on the edge quite a lot. Just, I operate to the point that I can get dizzy, lightheaded, struggle to drive. That's I'm looking forward to the day that I don't have to operate like that, but that's generally where I do operate. So I recharge a lot. And I don't find a audio book does that, because it gets my mind racing. So flights actually I use as a downtime. I do use it as to just quite try and empty my mind. So I get quite a lot of people actually ask me about some of the fundamentals. Actually, I had a phone call this morning about someone asking me for a business coach, and there were some really, I can mention 2 or 3. There were some really good fundamental books that people absolutely need to read. The first book is the E-Myth. You read that?
No, E-Myth. No.
E-Myth. So it's about going from self-employed to a business. So it tells you about that journey between having your own and starting to let go. So the E-Myth to me is the absolute
We'll be able to put that up, won't we? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, good.
Then you've got Instant Cashflow by Brad Sugars, and you've got Eat That Frog. Those 3 books, I think, really give you a good foundation to, 1, understand the basics of business, 2, understand that you need to do some, like you said, you need to eat those frogs. You need to do some of the difficult things first. And Instant Cashflow teaches you about the importance of cash flow. So they're the 3 I think are the most basic books. And then I've got a couple of favourites. One is The Road Less Stupid. Will actually, I think, stuck it on the group once, and I took it, and it absolutely changed it changed so much.
He's blunt, isn't he?
He's very blunt.
Yeah, very blunt.
It's exactly what I needed at that point in time when I read it. It was brilliant.
No shit Sherlock, isn't it?
No,
he actually says it exactly the way it should be.
Yeah. So that was great. Another great book is Radical Candor. That's really good. I've got loads of recommendations, but if you're starting off, the E-Myth, Eat That Frog, and Instant Cashflow are the best.
If you're starting, for young entrepreneurs or virgins coming through to be entrepreneurs, if you're that crazy that you want to do this, Brian Tracy's a good digestion.
Yeah.
Bit American, this, that, and the other, but it's very basic sales stuff, how to do goal setting, how to structure your day, how to structure your phone calls. And it's very good at getting your brain organised and ready to take on the whole entrepreneur thing of you being in control and you being responsible. I think that's what a lot of people don't realise is, the responsibility on our shoulders. You're nearly up to 200 staff now, aren't you? You were telling me.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're all being fed by your ideas and your thrust of what you're doing with your companies.
Yeah.
Well, the responsibility is there, and we invite the pressure and the tension to do it. That's what we do, but it's still. It's still a lot to carry some days. And what you just said there, Sam, it does interest me that you say that, you're working right to that dizzy, almost that sort of fainting point of not worry, but it's tension and stress that you put yourself under. Worry can go sod itself because we can just take action to kill worry. But the pressure we put ourselves under sometimes, no one in their right mind would do that. And perhaps none of us are in our right mind, but we create these things around us. The book that I've gone back to, Ollie, I might have mentioned it in another pod, but is Shoe Dog for Nike story.
Right,
have you ever read it?
No, I haven't read that.
It's a really good book. It shows you how this young man went out to Japan, in the 60s and really started sort of bringing this thing. There were Tiger shoes originally what he brought in. And it's just a great story of resilience and how he got the banks to back him and the trials and tribulations of it. And it's good storytelling and it's written in his own words and it's a great book, really good. I mean, and Sam and I are saying to people watching and listening, read more.
Yeah,
read as much as you can, get it in. Because sometimes the information is very similar to another book, but it's digested in a different way and you'll feel it from a different personality telling you. You've got some characters are very American and thrusting. I'm trying to think, what's his name? Robinson? I don't really.
Tony
Robbins. It's not everybody's digestion, is it?
It's not. And I think I've had so many conversations, and I think you need to get your mind framed right. I find people are so opinionated, or some people that they don't read many books. They're so opinionated. Well, I'm not sure about that book. I wasn't really sure about just listen to it.
Yeah, and we're not asking you to be sure. We're asking you to just take some nuggets.
I've listened to books. One sentence in the whole book has changed the total trajectory of my life.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah.
So that would be my recommendation. Stop being so judgmental. Yeah. Yes, they might sound a bit American. Yes, they might. Stop all that. Listen to them and
Sam,
learn.
We meet people that have read all the books.
Yeah.
But no implementation.
100%. And
I'm as somebody I know I can't say they've read everything, mate. They've read the whole thing, but they are still not actually moved forward. But they know all the quotes, they know all the sayings, they know all the rules, they know everything. But it's about writing those goals down every morning. It's about doing fitness. It's about stop drinking. It's about all of the things you've got to change who you are to become the person that you're going to be.
Yeah,
and you know, if I've said that the right way around, but you have to change who you are to make you become that person that will be successful and go forward. And that means you've got to change your habits, you've got to change your friends sometimes.
Yeah,
I mean, crikey, mate, I don't see half of the people that I used to, say 10 years ago.
No, not at all.
Not at all, because you know, bullshit Billy down the pub is boring, and they're no.
It's the same thing.
Yeah,
Same thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So Sam, and I do thank you for coming down here, because you're in between sorting out your businesses here, all over the world, where you're working backwards and forwards to Dubai. So I appreciate your time coming down to Bangkok.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
I really do. And then if people want to find your different businesses, sell it, baby. Tell us where they can find you.
Do you need protecting, or do you need a skip?
Yeah, that's it. Well, explain it. If you need skips, go on.
If you need skips,
things rubbish.
everyone, especially this winter, it's going to be, you know, we're expecting a budget soon, but let's not worry about that. Let's get some skips. Everyone needs a skip. So look, if you want to know a bit more about me, I've been a bit quiet because of the pressure at the moment, but I talk a lot about business on LinkedIn and about my businesses. So I think LinkedIn profile is probably the best way to.
And what name do they find you on that profile?
Sam Malins.
Sam Malins. Like he'll have a problem keeping Malins. And then Sam, on the other business, what look that up, because it's interesting. Your website's good for the fire.
Yeah. So on the fire side, you've got two, but the main one is reactonfire.com.
Yeah.
And that will give you an insight. It's all linked from my LinkedIn, but it's it will give you an idea.
But I looked at that last night, and I didn't really know much about that business. You tell me stuff, and I just let it go through my brain. I wasn't paying attention. And last night I did look at it all, and I was going, "Oh, this is really interesting. This is
it's good. A brilliant business," and I think it goes to show, you know, for me, I absolutely love a challenge. And like I said earlier on, is if we're going to get there, we're going to get there. And if you are at heart, I'm a skip boy, like you are. Found out now, you know, and it's things are just simple in my head. Yeah. There's no massive, you know, I'm not the most intelligent person in the world. I'm not a huge when it comes to engineering, but if you understand, I think this is like, for me, this is the sign off. If you understand the basics of business and you can employ the right people, you know, you can have come from a small skip world, and we now own a global manufacturing company. You know, I don't understand the tolerances and the certifications and all of that sort of thing. I can spend time with the team and start to understand it, but I don't understand it easily. No. So I think that's the message that I like to give off, you know, in the fact that you don't have to.
The thing that I like about your story is that the people that listen and watch us here on Entrepreneur Conversations is I want to show that everything is possible, from humble beginnings to where you can get to. And a lot of it is down to you staying there with good work ethic. I think that's what comes down to it. You can have all the coaching and books in the world, but if you haven't got great work ethic and thrust to do the stuff, you're not going to get anywhere anyway. No. And I know that you, like me, have got that in spades, because we're always busy, we're always got stuff on the go, and we're always looking over at new horizons. Yeah. But Sam, thank you for today. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Lovely. If you've enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, leave a comment. There's someone you know that could gain something from what we do here. Pass the pod. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you on the next one.